Skol and whatnot. The Minnesota Vikings are 8-2 after a win in Music City yesterday. I don't know if I froze or if Brev was just holding still. Okay, Brev was just holding still. That was impressive.
Skol Vikes.
Wow. Skol Vikes. I'm Jason Harmon here with Brevin, the Brevman Bane. I like how you just changed your subheader because you're no longer on Twitter.
It's like months overdue. I looked at it like halfway through each show we've done the last month and a half, 2 months. I've looked at it and was like, wait, that's not relevant anymore. So
You are not relevant anymore because you're no longer on the internet, which we'll talk about here in a bit. Some of the things you've missed.
But I get paid to write about this stuff now instead of just posting on Twitter for a bunch of idiots to read.
Fair enough. What are your thoughts about yesterday's game? Kind of a peak and valley type game that overall just turned out to be a game that happened and we won.
I think you said it best where it was like, yeah, it was a Minnesota Vikings football game and defense played well. September Sam is back, all the way back for this week at least. And the running game sucked. So that sucks. And the rushing game has kind of disappeared, but hopefully it's something that can be fixed.
Cam Akers doesn't suck. He did only average 2.5 yards carry.
He might
but
suck. He had a long run of 12 yards. And I think if you take that away, 9 carries for 13 yards over the rest. So
yeah, I may be exclusively just replaying that run in my head.
Yeah. Titans good run defense. You heard. Just make that clear.
Very good. Very good. And you had Reisner in, who is known to be a run blocker, but also, I believe, was matched up against Simmons the majority of the game.
Probably. I haven't watched
and also hasn't played in a while. He had a very low PFF grade, but like, controversial opinion, I don't care too much about PFF grades when it comes to offensive line. I think that's a very hard position group to grade. I think it's more just about raw stats. I think he allowed 2 pressures but no sacks, which at the end of the day...
Breaking news... If you haven't played all year long and you're going against Jeffrey Simmons, you're probably not going to have a great PFF grade. So you heard it here first.
Yeah. Couple plays to highlight. Addison, free 3, and then he had a second touchdown that on first viewing I thought was Darnold making a overthrow. But with hindsight and kind of tying the threads, I know he later left the game with cramps. Actually, not even later, immediately after that drive. And you can tell he was not running at full speed. That would have been a touchdown. And then you had Naylor. And I know you're going to victory lap. Naylor had a decent, really actually a hot start to the season the first month. Touchdown in each game. But oh my God, how do you drop that touchdown?
I don't even want to, I never thought Jalen Naylor was bad. I just kind of in the off season was like, okay, we're doing this again. It's more, can he stay healthy? I think if he got hurt, I could victory lap that, which would be messed up, and I would never do that. But Jalen Naylor just kind of sucking, I can't victory lap because I didn't think I actually liked Jalen Naylor. I liked him coming out of Michigan State. Maybe it just. I don't
even think he sucks. I just think that is an inexcusable drop.
I think he sucks. Okay, so maybe he doesn't suck, but that is the third big play in which he has just completely SHAT the bed. Packers punt, Rams drop, this drop, and again that he gets a little bit of leniency because we were still up 10, but you can't drop that.
Do you think Brandon Powell is even lining up in that same spot given the size difference? They're very different players as far as size and where you want to put them. Do you even think, because I saw people online being like, oh, Brandon Powell makes that catch. Well, does Brandon Powell even take that spot on the field?
Probably not, but I think that speaks more volumes to how bad of a drop that was, that I still think Brandon Powell makes that play.
Yeah. You know who could have made that play?
Me.
Captain Scrappy on the team, Trent Sherfield,
Yeah.
had probably one of the coolest first down pickups after Darnold went full Mahomes, and best play on special teams yesterday by a mile. That's one of those guys who is probably not ever going to be elite at any one position, but he's just a football guy who will go out there and you're like, go do this, and he'll go give it his best damn effort. And like, I know people, the Chris Boyd thing's a meme and stuff like that, but like, you need those guys. You need a Marcus Sherrills type guy. Do I think he could turn into the production Marcus Sherrills did? On like, he's not a returner, but no, but you need those types of guys. Heath Farwell, who just kind of whatever position they play, they just fit in on special teams, offense, defense, wherever they might line up, and they just go make impacts. And yesterday, when he plugged into the offense, he had a couple, one or two key catches, and then when it came to special teams, he downed that punt in a massive way. I'm looking here. Trent Sherfield had one reception. It was a 16-yard. So yeah, I think he only had the one, but still, like that was a huge play, and that punt was
Yeah.
badass.
I think the downing the punt like that was just in terms of the process, the play. It was a clinic on how to play coverage on special teams. I think that play was way better than in terms of what Sherfield had to do. I think it was way better than the catch.
Yeah.
The play for the catch was like way more impressive because Darnold, like you said, went Mahomes. But
Are we back? Is somebody pointed out
no,
that Sam Darnold's statistical best month is December? So I'm calling him Santa Claus, but then I realized the better play is December. Um,
yeah,
which I think if we have Samtember and December,
we're set.
watch out. Watch out.
What
The bookend months? Are you
about
kidding me?
January?
Haha. No, that's gonna be JJ January, baby. Already
Well,
trademarked.
not this year.
Not this year. Not this year. Well, if you ask Vikings Twitter, and we'll get to this, there may not even be a January because things are apparently that bad for the Vikings. Couple notes. Andrew Van Ginkel, 8 tackles, 2 sacks. Huge. I mean,
Love him.
somebody did point out he's probably the best defensive free agent the Vikings have signed since Antoine Winfield, potentially. And I'm like, it's a little early because Antoine Winfield was here for like, what, 10 years, 8 years, 9 years, somewhere in that range. Maybe he wasn't even here that long, maybe 6, 7 years. Um, and do I think Van Ginkel has the potential to turn into that? I mean, if he plays at this pace and sticks around, then yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know
Right
if we're
now, I
quite
can't.
there yet.
Right now, I can't call him that. I think Linval Joseph, right? Like just because Linval Joseph played out, like Van Ginkel were 10 games in. So right now, I'd say
Yeah.
Linval Joseph was a better free agent signing than Van Ginkel. Right now,
Yeah.
just right now.
Right now. Patrick Jones, back in the saddle, also 2 sacks. I've said from the beginning, I think Pat Jones can just kind of go off any game or struggle any game, and I think you have to trust Kevin O'Connell, or not even Kevin O'Connell, Flores to identify that early, kind of get a vibe check early on, and see if you're gonna keep him, which yesterday worked, or get Dallas Turner into the rotation. People are already assuming Dallas Turner's a bust. I just think if you look at that edge room and how they run the defense, and people are now fighting over, well, he's a lineman and the other guys are linebackers. It's Brian Flores' defense. If you're a defensive end, you're a linebacker and vice versa. I just think the room's stacked. I don't think it's necessarily like an indictment on Dallas Turner.
Yeah, to their point, like I want Pat Jones to stop doing that, honestly, because I want Dallas Turner to be able to get more reps. And Brian Flores changes things up so much. So like in this defense, it doesn't matter as much that like Pat Jones can take snaps away from Dallas Turner because they can just find something else to do with Dallas Turner. But just in the general sense that can Pat Jones stop being relevant for like the first time in his career so we can play Dallas Turner even more. I'm glad Pat Jones did what he did, but it's like why do you he's DJ Wanham. He's DJ Wanham. Go get your bag, Pat.
Yeah, and look, I kind of disagree. It's not that I don't. I mean, I if I could pick between the two players and just choose which one starts having success, obviously it'd be Dallas Turner. Um,
That's what I mean.
but I
Yeah.
but I like the depth of knowing Pat Jones is in because he can do well, and we know Dallas Turner could come in and potentially change things up, than just saying Pat Jones now is not doing something. We have to rely on Dallas Turner. I like the depth that the current option presents. I think it's
Yes.
better for playoff football to rely on that situation.
Oh, absolutely. Just the smooth brain part of me just wants Dallas Turner to play.
So the majority of you
Yeah.
get wrecked.
Thanks,
Anyways, yeah,
buddy.
I it was yeah, it's just the most Vikings game that ever Viking. That 98-yard touchdown was just Josh Metellus is really good at a lot of things. I think lining up single coverage. I mean, what effectively ended up being he was match man to man, or was it zone? It looked like he was
It
kind
was
of,
his own. So is Gilmore supposed to clamp
but he
down on
was
the out route, which he
got
did,
it.
and Metellus hesitated over top, which they pointed out on the broadcast where that was Metellus's. It was all Metellus's fault. As much as we love Josh Metellus, that play was on him, to where
Yeah.
Metellus like just stuttered
Yeah,
covering
by
in
the
that.
time the camera moved, and I was, admittedly, I was watching on my phone and walking in to pick up my McDonald's order. So it
Nice.
looked like he was kind of lined up in more of a man, or like he kind of was like on him in a bit of more tight coverage and just bit the wrong
Yeah.
way, but zone makes sense. Um, Fluke play, other than the fact that you and I have been Will Levis truthers for a hot minute, that he has full um, just chaos potential to. Obviously, he's bad.
Yeah.
I think
No,
the
he sucked.
situation speaks to that. But he has just that level of, he's like Nick Mullins times two, where just the absolute gap between good plays and bad plays is larger, but the good plays he has are like, what the hell did I just see?
Everyone's talking about just how bad Levis is, and he pretty much is. Not realizing how special his arm talent is, which like that's a cop out. I get it. Like I don't want to hear about how much a quarterback who sucks is arm talent. Like I still like Zach Wilson. I'm not saying I want Zach Wilson to be the Vikings quarterback, but if Zach Wilson didn't go to the Jets, I've said it 1,000 times. If Wilson didn't go to the Jets, he would be a good quarterback. Will Levis has had a statistically better start to his career than Josh Allen. So if you think Will Levis sucks, do you think Josh Allen sucks? I know the answer is no, but the argument sounds way better for me.
Yeah, but has Will Levis hurdled Anthony Barr?
Yeah. I really wish Josh Allen sucked so I could say that's his entire legacy.
I hate that Josh Allen is quickly becoming my favorite non-Viking.
Is it better for Josh Allen's legacy to be that he hurdled a very overrated Vikings defender in his prime, or that he just loses to Patrick Mahomes every January?
Well, I guess we'll see this year because he sure as hell didn't lose to him in November.
Well, they do this every year. I think this is the third straight year they've beat them in the regular season, and then they just lose them in the
I'm
playoffs.
just saying, what have you done for me lately? We could talk about this coming January when we get to January, but in the meantime, Vikings fans, we cannot be happy. It's just not allowed.
Mm-mm.
It's, and I know you're not even on Twitter. And before I even talked to you pre-show about some of the
So glad
rhetoric being
I'm not.
thrown around,
So glad
you
I'm
could
not.
assume what was going on.
Yeah.
People are now complaining about Kevin O'Connell still. We can't put teams away because of his play calling. He doesn't know how to call a game with a lead. They're also talking about every metric showing the Vikings offense technically is trending downward. No duh. We all have eyes. Um, and that the run game's inexcusably bad, and that this team isn't going to be taken seriously in the playoffs. How much can the goalposts move on what people expect from this team?
I think it's gonna be, and I'm guilty of it too. Like I'm not dumb. I know I say a lot of things, but I know I'm still guilty of the things that I complain about sometimes because I'm self-aware. Um, I just 2 or 3 years ago, we would have murdered for the win that we got yesterday. And that's just because it was by 10 points. For a year, like even in the late Mike Zimmer years, like it was all, why can't we just close the team out? Why can't we win again by double digits? Now we've
Even
done,
2022.
Yeah, 20, especially 2022, the first year of Kevin O'Connell, where we, 13 of our 12, 13, 14 of our games were one score, win or loss. So now we're doing that with Sam Darnold at quarterback. Let me put this like very clearly, and I'm kind of talking to myself here too. And look in my eyes when I say this. The Minnesota Vikings are 8-2 in a year that's supposed to be a rebuild or a ramp up for JJ McCarthy. Further context, we can go 2-5 in our final 7 games and be 10-7 and probably in the playoffs. I don't know what more you could want. Apparently, it's Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Why? Because Kevin O'Connell can't blow a first half lead where they're up 20 plus and barely win the game at the end of the game. Oh, he did that week 4. I'm just disappointed in you, not you, Jason. If you're guilty of this,
No.
seek
I
help.
wouldn't have brought it up if I was guilty of this. So
I know. I said you.
got it.
Viewers are seeing 2 people on the screen, maybe. But what more do you? And I know we talk about all the things wrong with this Vikings team and how good of a year they're still having, but you have to talk about the things that are wrong in order to understand the context of how good the team is. And if you care about the team going deep, again, fans don't have to do anything, but I think it's still important to talk about the bad part. Like the Vikings rushing offense, awful yesterday. Bad. Worst rushing game of the year. 2.5 yards per carry as a team. Bad. They won in spite of that.
You
They
said
won.
defense. You meant offense, correct?
Did I?
You did say defense.
What did I
I
say?
believe you said defense.
What
You
did I
said
say?
rushing defense, 2.5 yards carry.
Rushing offense, 2.5 yards per carry. Sorry. Worst performance of the year. That doesn't mean I want Jim Harbaugh to be the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. So there's a line that we can come to, and the line gets crossed when you are complaining about your team being 8-2 in a year we thought we were going to win 7 games in 17 attempts. You can go 3-4. You're at 11 wins. You can go 4-3 the rest of the year. You're at 12 wins. What do you want? What do you want? We all want the same thing. We all want a ring. But what do you want? Do you just want to bitch and moan? Apparently. Go be a Lions fan if you want to do that. Go hang a billboard. Don't care. Go play the victim. Sorry.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
You told me you were going to fall asleep. Instead, you give your most riveting performance I've ever seen. Well done.
Energy on that.
Look, I get it. What we want to see. At the end of the day, what we want to see from this team is a Super Bowl. And chances are that probably won't happen this year. I'm a firm believer that if you get into the playoffs and you're scrappy and you have a good defense, anything can happen. You look at teams that have done that before, like the Buccaneers with Brad Johnson, Trent Dilfer. You look at the Broncos in 2015. We talked about that last week. Peyton Manning had a terrible season. Things can get weird in the playoffs. Do I want to see us win a Super Bowl this year? Yes. Do I think it's likely? Probably not. But man, it's a hell of a lot more likely than it was when we were sitting here a week before week 1. And man, we've said from the beginning our thoughts were, hey, this team's going to do their best to win a Super Bowl between 2025 and 2029. It's probably their ideal window to be completely all in gung-ho with JJ McCarthy, all their guys extended, free agency money, cap space freed up. If we could be good in the meantime, and no free agent's going to want to go to a team that won 4, 5, 6 games the year before if they can avoid it and say, well, I think they might be better this year. We see it every once in a while, depending on the money. But if you want to get top talent without having to pay an insane amount, to your point, Say, hey, in our rebuild year, we won 10, 11, 12, 13 games. We think with you here, we can be even better and make a serious run. Then that long-term vision of winning the Super Bowl's actually better for the year that you made the playoffs and maybe didn't win the Super Bowl, but you showed the rest of the league that coming to Minnesota is worth it. And those guys in the locker room got more opportunity to really learn what it takes to win. There is no downside in anything that has happened to the team this year. And I know, granted, a couple of weeks ago, you and I sat here after the Rams game and were just completely flabbergasted at this team. Even last week, we were like, what the hell was that? But at this point, I'm like, it's house money. It's all house money. If we make the playoffs, lose in the first round, will I be bummed? Yeah, I'm a Vikings fan. Of course I'll be bummed. But will I also be able to logically say this was an extremely successful year for this organization given the circumstances? Yes. I don't care about DVOA. I don't care about any of that. That's not the full story. This team is winning with a not fully assembled yet roster. Period. Yes, they have Grenard and Cashman and Van Ginkel and Jones, all these huge free agency signings, but that wasn't the long-term vision. They're winning without Christian Darrisaw. Since Darrisaw's gone out, they've won 3 straight games. That's something to take pride in. Yes, your offense is going to slow down a little bit without somebody like Darrisaw. Yes, you still have gaps to fill on the rest of the team. But I'm not going to get mad at the team for winning in the meantime while we wait for those plans to go into effect long term. Just be happy. I'm happy. I'll be sad when we eventually lose if we do. But again, logically, I'll know that this season is going to be one of those ones that I remember as a huge step for this team. 2008 was super similar. The team won the division, but everyone knew Tavares Jackson wasn't going to do anything for this team. And they lost in the first round of the playoffs at home to the Eagles. But then guess what happened in 2009? They were able to make some adjustments, bring in Favre. The guys who were here in 2008 got a lot better and were ready for a playoff run. 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Or sorry, 2015. I don't count 2016 as much because of everything that happened. But you lose in the first round of the playoffs, within 2 years you're in the NFC Championship game. Like these are the types of things that like this team is building for.
And I want to make it clear too, because I've said in the past, which I still stick to, that the standard has changed for the 2024 Minnesota Vikings. And the standard was they're going to win 7 games this year. Now the standard is they've won 8 out of their first 10. So, yes, I will continue to sit here and be like, look, it's not like they're in the locker room and Kevin O'Connell and all the coaches are sitting in the locker room being like, oh, we're 8-2. It doesn't matter what we do the rest of the year. We
That's
thought we were
bigger
gonna win
than 6.
here. Yeah, very good. Like I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, house money to a point, because truthfully that is what it is. But there's a difference between the Vikings being 8-2 and doing dumb things and me being upset because the Vikings seem to be kind of a legitimate team in the NFC. Not as legitimate as they were the first 4 or 5 weeks, but they're still a very good team. So yeah, I'm going to complain about the bad things, but what I'm not going to do is sit here and be confused as to why the offense has regressed, call for Jim Harbaugh, call for Kevin O'Connell's job apparently. What I'm going to do is understand, because I'm younger than some of these people, I know. I have, you see, they're covered by glass, but I have eyes,
You
okay?
have 4 of them.
Very good. I turn 25 next month, okay? I haven't watched as much football as some of you, just by default, by age. Offenses regressing and things evening out is something that happens in the NFL every single year. Breaking news. We're not the Detroit Lions. Breaking news. Sam Darnold is the quarterback of this team. Breaking news. We don't have Jared Goff. We don't have David Montgomery. We don't have Jahmyr Gibbs. We don't have Amon-Ra St. Brown. We don't have Jameson Williams. We don't have Sam Laporta. We don't have Penei Sewell. We've won 1 less game. Lost to that team by 2. What else do you want?
You were just cooking so much. I will say we do. I have to play devil's advocate. We do have a better wide receiver duo than they do. Addison's better
Yeah,
than
yeah, yeah,
JMO.
yeah.
Hey, you
Yeah,
know
but
what
they're
Addison doesn't do? You know what Addison doesn't do? Get suspended for his arrests.
very true. Oh, do you remember that argument? I think was it before the year last year when Lions fans were like, "Well, he sped."
Yeah.
It's like one is
I mean,
an NFL
JMO,
policy, the
we've
other's
said
not.
this before, not to get too off topic. JMO is get the ball in his hands and watch him do stuff. Addison's more of a traditional wide receiver, too.
Yes,
And
Addison
I
gets
think
it.
is therefore more valuable on a play to play basis.
Yes, and I
I
love
couldn't let
Jameson
you I
Williams.
couldn't let you do your pro
No, no,
Jameson Williams agenda that
no.
you
I
brought
love
up
Jameson
in my
Williams.
text. Yes.
Look,
Yes. I'm aware
I
you texted me about it
I
yesterday.
my love for a player gets heightened when a group of individuals tries to tell me that that player sucks, and it's just wrong. It's just blatantly wrong. So I don't love Jameson Williams. Jason, I do
You
love
do
Jason.
love Jason. Yeah.
I don't love Jameson Williams, but I don't think he sucks because that's just false. That's all.
Quick schedule predictor the rest of the way.
Uh oh.
So we're gonna do best case, worst case.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Best case is your
We go Bears, Cardinals, Falcons. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games left. Bears twice, Cardinals, Falcons, Seahawks, Packers, Lions. Out of those 7 games, what is your worst case record? I think you and I will be aligned because I think you kind of hinted at it.
worst case. I mean, technically, the absolute worst case
The
is
worst is 0 and 7. Yeah.
lose
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
for the rest of the year, and we should have hired Jim Harbaugh, and we should fire Kevin O'Connell. And
What is your likely, realistic worst case scenario?
2-5.
And then the team ends up 10-7. And are you sitting here in August of this year after JJ McCarthy gets hurt and I come to you from the future and I say we're going to go 10-7 with Sam Darnold? Are you mad about that?
I will be in my brand new Kirk Cousins Atlanta Falcons jersey, just screaming at the moon.
Because I also told you about what happened yesterday, I'm assuming. Because that Kirk Cousins shirt, the joke is you're in a Kirk Cousins jersey, and I told you about the Broncos score.
Oh, yeah. And what he
Oh,
did
and people are fighting about that too. So a few of us had to throw some digs. I did tweet, glad to see the Falcons are in the get blown out by a mediocre team stage of the Kirk Cousins roller coaster. The Broncos aren't mediocre. They're kind of mediocre. Their defense is good, but they're kind of mediocre. Well, that wasn't Kirk's fault. The defense, and I'm like, this sounds so familiar, but they also scored 6 points.
They scored 6 points.
They scored 6 points.
Now
Anyways,
those people will tout the great Vikings defensive this year. Ask them how they got the defense. Ask them how they acquired.
dead money. Not knowing how dead money actually works.
These people are so dumb. I just want to know.
Worst case for you, 2-5. Worst case for me, I think also 2-5. I think between playing the Bears twice, I do not see a situation in which they lose to the Bears twice. Could happen. I mean, Caleb Williams has just turned into a running back, and maybe that screws up our defense. But I look at the Seahawks, the Falcons, and the Bears as the 3 likeliest teams we are to get wins against. We played the Bears twice, so that's totaling 4 games because the Bears are twice. I think we can go 500 against that group and at least get 2 wins in the worst case scenario.
Yeah, if I had to choose 2 wins that the Vikings have, it would be like in the scenario they go 2-5. Their 2 wins, I would say, would be against Atlanta and once against Chicago.
I would say Chicago and either Atlanta or Seattle.
Seattle is purely just we haven't won there since 06. That's purely.
Oh, I forgot we're also going there.
Yeah, that's on my birthday. So we're definitely not winning. Sorry.
Yeah. Screw you. Best case scenario, technically it's winning 7 games, which this team should be expected to do. What do you think realistically again? Bears twice, Cardinals, Falcons, Seahawks, Packers, Lions.
4-2. Wait, four and
4-3.
no, yeah. God, 5-2.
5-2. Who do you have those 5 wins coming against?
I think the 2 losses are against in this scenario
You don't have us losing till December 29th, do you?
are against Green Bay and Chicago.
Chicago. You have us beating the Lions. Do you have that as scenario of them resting
Oh,
their
sorry.
starters?
Green Bay and Detroit. I was losing the last
That's
2
what I
games.
was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say was you have us not losing a game in all of December until December 29th.
Yeah, and
And then
that would also be heavily dependent upon what Detroit's doing because we play them the last week of the year. They might have the 1 seed
they
locked up.
might. There is a chance. I'd put it right now at about a 20% chance that the division's still in play in week 18 if the Vikings don't collapse. Because the Bills, remember, they also lost Anzalone yesterday. I know it was the third quarter, but I'm pretty sure they were up like 35 at that point.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Lions are winning the Super Bowl. Unfortunately,
No,
truthfully, I
I
really.
have, I have at least 2 losses on the horizon for them. At least 2. When you look at the Bills, the Packers, and the Niners, I see within those 3 games high likelihood of 2 of them being losses in any combination. Probably the Bills being the one I think is most likely to be a loss. Especially, do they just have infinite home games this year? I feel like the Lions. I know they don't, but it just feels like every freaking game's a home game.
Technically, don't they only have 2 games outside of a dome this year?
I think so. The Packers, the Niners, and then they also have potential trap games with the Colts, Bears, and Vikings. They have 2 games with the Bears. So I see them getting 2 losses out of that. In some combination, I see them getting 2 more losses because having Anzalone hurt is you combine that with Hutch being out and then Zadarius Smith already got hurt. Like
I would
obviously
agree.
their offense is really good, but I think some team is going to have a peak offensive performance against them, and it's going to be a shootout. And I think the Bills are probably the safest bet just to demolish that defense.
I would agree that they probably. I don't think I never thought the Lions were going to win out. I do think they probably have 2 more losses on the schedule. I predicted the Vikings worst case scenario, best case scenario. My true what I think will happen with the Vikings is I think they go 3-4 the rest of the way. 3-4 or 4-3. They'll win 11 or 12, but Detroit will win 14. So I think week 18 won't matter.
Okay. Best case scenario for me, and I know this naturally includes the Lions game, but there's so much of like what we just talked about of the games up before then and what it means for week 18. I have a sweeping the Bears, beating the Cardinals, beating the Falcons, and the Seahawks, which is 5. And then I think losing those last 2 games as well, I think is the best. However, I'm going to be contrarian and say 6-1 because they should be able to beat the Bears. They're 3.5. I think they're currently 4.5 point favorites on the road. It's probably going to move money wise to 3.5. They should be able to beat the Cardinals if they just shut down. If they can just trap Marvin Harrison, we'll be fine. Should be able to beat the Falcons. Should be able to beat the Bears again. I know Seattle started off hot with a solid defense, but they're 500 right now, and we've already proven we could dominate the Packers for at least a half of football. But we've already proven we can do that. So technically speaking, if I'm going to say what is this team capable of, I think they can win out up until the January 5th game. I think it's possible. So I think for me the best case scenario is 6 straight wins. The Lions lose a couple, and basically the game comes down to the Vikings have a 1-game lead, or I think it would count as a half-game lead because of the head-to-head going into Detroit, and basically we would end with the exact same record if the Lions won, but they would have a double tiebreaker.
Can you imagine last game for the division?
The fact that the game is not scheduled, maybe the script writers have something going on.
Isn't every game like that for that week?
I like Yes, and
Okay,
I'm
I
aware of
get it.
that as I
Yeah,
said that, but I like my narrative more.
yeah, it's a good one.
So with that, I'm gonna stay biased. Yeah, I'm likely. I say 4-3. I say 4-3 because you said 3-4.
3 and 4 or 4. I can't decide.
I say 4-3 because I think again, like you don't stumble into 8-2. I know it's been sloppy at times, and I mean it's been sloppy for the better half of over a month, like almost 2 months now. Like really, the second half of that Packers game is where things started getting sloppy. But if you could
Right
be
after Jalen
sloppy
Nailor.
and be, if you could be sloppy and be 8-2, then man, like what the hell's going to happen when this team does hit their peak? Because I don't think they've done it yet. Because even in their best games against the Niners and the Texans, I think the Texans was probably the most complete game, but there were still plays left out on the field and questionable decisions. And I'm not expecting any team to be perfect, but like, I think we could. I don't. I'm not going to guarantee it, but I think we could see a different layer to this team than what we've seen yet.
I hope so because they're
So,
going to need it in January.
so I have this team ending 12-5 is my guess. I think best case scenario, we're looking at a 14-2 team going up against the Lions. If we end 15-2, 2017 is now meaningless to me. Have a first round bye, go straight into the divisional game at home. Yeah, 2017 you were cute and all that, but this year's better.
We also had that in 2017.
I know, but I'm saying the kicker is, well, we'd have to win the game too on a miraculous play for it. I think people are forgetting how similar 2017 in a lot of ways was as far as points per game. This team's better points per game differential, points allowed differential than the 2017 team was. So
Mid journey.
we'll talk more about that. But Rev, we said we weren't going to go long, and look what we did. My bad. You're going to fall asleep. You know what? If you are going to fall asleep, it's probably a good thing that you smell nice. How do you smell so good and look so fresh even when you've worked a long day, Brev?
Dr. Squatch. Next question.
Okay. How can people buy the Dr. Squatch and maybe get a little bit of savings up front?
With the link in the description. Next question.
What does the link in the description do?
Gives you $10 off your first purchase of $20 or more. Next question.
Wonderful. My next question is, if the Vikings somehow have a playoff game in the DMV against the Commanders,
Feel like a man smells Skolcial.
are we going to go?
That would be optimal.
I mean, if the stands don't fall apart, yes.
Awful. So I'm awake. So everything that everybody watching this has heard about, it's not FedEx Field anymore. It's like Northwest Stadium or something. Everything you've heard about how bad that stadium is, it's worse. I'm putting my hand up when I say that. It's worse.
Okay.
I just want to make that known.
Well, maybe we won't go. But if we were, I think we should use. I think we should use SeatGeek. Actually, I don't know if we can because we both used SeatGeek before, but I would recommend if anyone wants to join us to use code BREV or code JASONH to save $20 off your first purchase. If you guys want to catch the Monday night game against the Bears, I'll be there. We're going to be wearing white. Don't be those people who decide to yell on Facebook or on Twitter when the team posts, don't forget to wear white, and say, I bought a purple jersey and I'm going to wear it. Damn it. Don't be those people. Wear white. Be a good fan. Don't be a lame-o. But best way to not be a lame-o if you're going to a concert, going to a game, going damn near anywhere is to use code BREV or code JASONH to save $20 off your first purchase on SeatGeek. With that, Brev needs to take a nappy nap, and I think really, I mean, just fall asleep for 12 hours.
I did that last week, and it was awesome, but I was way more tired than when I slept for like 4 hours, and it doesn't make sense.
Remember the time I planned my vacation around us recording, and you fell asleep till like noon?
Yes, actually. Whoops.
We're a professional setup here, guys. We will see you this week for an exciting pregame preview of one of the Minnesota Vikings shootouts at Soldier Field.
We do play Chicago next week, huh? I forgot, actually.
Those games are always great. I think the last one literally ended 12-10 last year with Dobbs on Monday Night Football.
The Vikings and Bears is just low-key a way worse version of the Steelers and Ravens.
Can't wait for some 1960s football. We'll see you guys later this week to talk about the Bears.